Hello Joe, and welcome to my very first programming video. Today we are going to be going over all of the basics of how to set up our environment for game development programming in JavaScript. We are going to be using 4 different tools. The first is a text editor. The second is p5.JS, which is a JavaScript framework that has a lot of awesome tools and library extensions. The third is an art editor, and the fourth is a tiled sheet editor. So this is a great introductory way to get into game development and web programming, and then we will be hosting games online and going over all of that cool stuff. So let's jump right into it. So the first thing we need to do is we need to download 2 things today. We're going to download a text editor, and we're going to download p5.js, p5js.org. This is the website. What we want to do is we want to come down to this download link here. We're going to go ahead and click that, and then we're going to come down and download p5.js complete. All right, once that's downloaded, we're going to go ahead and open up the zip file that it comes in. And I'm just going to drag this to my desktop. You can put this wherever you want. I recommend creating a folder for all of our P5 stuff that we're going to be doing. And I'm going to go ahead and open up this P5 zip file. And this is pretty much everything that we need. We're going to change a couple things and reorganize some stuff, rename some things, but we're going to get to that in a second. So next thing we want to do is we want to download our text editor. And we're going to be using Sublime Text. This is a very popular text editor that a lot of people are using. I use it for all of my programming stuff. It's very streamlined, very simple, but is very customizable. So it allows you to create Sublime to be whatever you need it to be. So to download that, we're going to go ahead and just go to this URL here. It is sublimetext.com. And we're going to go ahead and just come down to this download link and click whichever operating system you're using. So if you're using Windows 32-bit, 64-bit, but I am on OS X. So we're going to download that. And once that is finished downloading, we're going to go ahead and click and find where that has downloaded as well. We're going to go ahead and run the DMG or executable file depending on what operating system you're on. And once that has run, you're going to be left with your Sublime Text editor. And if you go ahead and open up Sublime Text, you should get a screen looking just like this. It is blank and there's nothing on it. But this is the right place to be. We're going to add our files into it to make it actually look like something in just a second. All right, so now we have our text editor downloaded and we have p5js downloaded. So what I want to do is I'm going to customize a few things real quick. So I'm going to go here to empty example, and I'm just going to delete that. We don't need it. We're going to create our own framework project that we'll be able to reference whenever we create a new project. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder. I'm going to name this framework. You can name this whatever you want. You can name this reference project. You can name this example project, whatever you'd like to name it. And once I have that created, I'm going to come into Sublime and I'm going to create a new file. You can do that by going File, New File, Control-N, Command-N, whichever. And I'm going to create a new file. Once I have a new file here, I'm going to go ahead and save that. And I'm going to come to wherever my p5.js thing is. Here I see my framework folder. And I'm going to name this index.html. So we are doing JavaScript, which is web-based, which means we need an HTML page to point our browser to. I'll go over more of this later. The next file, we're going to create another file. This one, we're going to save it again, and we're going to name this one main.js, JS being a JavaScript file. Next one, create a new file, save this one as assets.js. New file again. Another new file. We have several more to create, or we're going to have to do this several more times. And after assets, we're going to create a new one called objects. Oh, let's save it. Create a new file and save this one as objects.js. New file again. Save this one as player.js. Couple more. Save this one as input.js. Another file, util.js, and again, I'll explain what all of these are doing later. And I think that is it. So we have main, we have index, we have our main, objects, player, our assets, our input, and our utilities. Awesome. All right, so we have all of our files created. So now what we need to do is we need to go through, we need to put some content into these files so that when we run them on our browser, we actually have something to show for. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create an HTML file. And this is the file that we direct the browser to look at. We say, hey, you're running Google Chrome, you're running Safari, what is it? Look at this HTML file. And the HTML file then references all of our JavaScript files that we're going to use. So we're going to go and build up a basic HTML file right here. I'm going to go ahead and just type up a few things. So then we're going to come in here, just go ahead and copy this stuff down. Now, the stuff we want to get into is we're going to set the script type. First, we want to set the language that we're going to be programming in. This is JavaScript. The type is text, JavaScript, and then we're going to set the source equal to libraries/p5.js, and then we're going to end this script. Okay, so if you notice libraries, I'm setting a source file to libraries/p5.js. We don't have that created, so we're going to actually go back to our p5 folder, and inside of our framework project, we're going to create a new folder. So inside frameworks, I'm going to come over here, I'm going to say new folder, and this I'm going to name libraries. And this is going to hold all of our libraries that p5.js provides for us. So everything we've done so far is just basic JavaScript HTML. We haven't actually included p5 into anything. And if you notice here, this p5.js and this p5min.js are our p5.js files. This is what we want to include into our project in order to use some of these functions that are predefined for us. So what we want to do is we want to take both of these, and I want to copy these two items and move this into our libraries folder. All right, so now here, when we look at our project, and we see that we're referencing our library's p5.js file. That's this file right here. So now we're telling our HTML file to look in this folder called libraries, find p5.js, and use that. All right? So that's the first thing we want to do. The next thing we need to do is we need to include every one of these JavaScript files that we created up here. So main.js, assets.js, objects, and etc., etc. We need to include those into our index.html. Because again, remember our HTML file is what points to everything else. We point our browser to our HTML file points to everything else. So right now, we've told our HTML, hey, I want you to use the p5.js library, but now we need to also look at all of these other JavaScript files that we created ourselves. So underneath this, we're going to go ahead and just create another script language. And actually, let's just go ahead and, we can actually just go and copy this whole line, and let's throw this down here. All right, and so the only thing that we need to change is we're going to come through here, and under source, we're going to go and delete this, and we're going to change it to main.js. Remember that this is libraries is the folder that we're telling it to go to, and since main.js is in the same directory as our index.html file, we don't need to specify the folder. We can just say, hey, look in the same folder area and use that file. So I created main.js, and I'm going to go through, copy this, and I'm going to do this exact same thing for all of the other files that we've included. Okay, so this is pretty much everything that we need. I'm going to go and save this, and then I'm going to open it up in our browser. And to do that, you could just open up a new tab, and you could just hit Command O or Control O to open, and then we're just going to go ahead and find our HTML file. So I'm going to come into my P5, my frameworks, and I'm going to go index.html, and I'm going to open it. And we should get a blank page. Now, next thing I want to do is if we're in Chrome, which I recommend using Chrome, just because I know how to work with Chrome a little bit better, and we'll be going over this stuff. But if you go over View and Developer and JavaScript Console, we're going to get this console down here that will allow us to debug our project. So the fact that we have no errors, we have a plain white page means we have everything working. And that makes sense because right now our index.html file is just pointing to all of these JavaScript files that have no code in it. So nothing should happen. So let's go ahead and get something started. So in our main.javascript file, the first thing we want to do is we want to create a couple different functions. First thing we want to do is create a function called setup and create a function called draw. So P5 is going to look in our main file and look for these setup and draw functions. So we need this in every single project that we are working on. So what we need to do, once these two are created, we can then start adding some actual code into it to get some projects going. So I'm going to go into my function setup and I'm going to hit type in create canvas, window width, window height, and I'm going to set the background to 0. So what these two functions do, create canvas, just creates our working space in our web page. It's basically like a room or it's just a surface that all of our stuff is going to be drawn on and happening on. And the background is just setting the background color. So 0 is black. We'll go over some more of those colors. So if I hit Command S, if I save it, and I come over to here and I refresh it, I misspelled width. And so if I refresh my web page, I see that I have this huge black area covering up the whole height and width of the screen. If I come back into my file and I change these parameters here to 100 and 100, and I save it and I refresh this, my canvas is now 100 pixels wide by 100 pixels tall. So this is what we're going to be able to do to just create our basic canvas. So if this is coming up, then we know we have set up our project correctly. Alright, so this is where I'm going to end the video. We have successfully downloaded Sublime, we've downloaded P5, we've got the file set up, and we've got everything working so that we have a basic project that loads into our web browser. This is all that we're going to do for this video. Next video, I'm going to do basic object-oriented programming, and then after that, we're going to jump right into the game development. And then we're going to incorporate the p5.Play library and some of the other libraries that allow us to do really cool things. All right, well, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.